I want to start with a feeling that you might know very well. You are in a room full of people who love you, your family maybe, your closest friends, the people who have known you for years. The food is good. The conversation is flowing. By any external measure, this is exactly what people mean when they talk about being loved and connected. And yet, somewhere underneath your ribs, there is an ache, a loneliness that should not be there. You smile. You laugh at the right moments. You participate. But part of you is watching from a distance, wondering why you feel so far away from people you are physically right next to. If this experience is familiar to you, I want you to know that it is not crazy, it is not ungrateful, and it does not mean you do not love the people around you. It means something specific, and it is something we need to talk about, because most people who feel this way assume there is something wrong with them. There is not. There is something incomplete about what is happening in that room, and once you understand what it is, you can start to address it. Stay with me. Let me begin with the most important truth in this conversation. There is a difference between being around people and being known by them. Most people, even people who love you, are around you. Far fewer are known by you or know you. Around is physical. Known is psychological. You can be around someone for 40 years and not be known by them, and you can be known by someone you met 6 months ago. The loneliness you feel in rooms full of love is the loneliness of being around without being known. The people in the room mean you well. They want you to be happy, but they do not actually know what is inside you, what you are struggling with, what you secretly think, who you are at 3 a.m. when you cannot sleep, and you do not feel that you can show them. So you sit among them, loved in theory, lonely in practice. The reason this happens is not that the people in your life are deficient. Some of them might be. But mostly the reason is that you have not let them in. And the reason you have not let them in is complicated and worth looking at honestly. The first reason most people do not get fully known is fear. There is a quiet, persistent fear that if people saw the real you, the unfiltered you, the messy you, the dark thoughts you, they would think differently of you. They would be disappointed. They would judge. They would pull away. So you keep showing them the curated version, the version that has been edited for safety. And that curated version, while polished, is not who you actually are. So when they love that version, you do not feel loved. You feel a complicated mix of relief and emptiness, because you know they love something that is not exactly you. This is a kind of trap. The more curated you become, the less known you feel. The less known you feel, the more lonely you feel. The more lonely you feel, the more you assume the problem is that you need different or more people. So you add people. You go to more events. You take on more relationships. But none of it touches the original ache, because none of it requires you to be seen. You are just expanding the audience for the same performance. The second reason most people do not get fully known is habit. Many of us learned early on that certain parts of us were not welcome. Maybe a parent shut down expressions of sadness, so we learned to bury sadness. Maybe a family valued achievement, so we learned to hide signs of struggle. Maybe a culture discouraged certain feelings, certain identities, certain truths. Over decades, the hiding becomes automatic. We do not even know what we are hiding anymore. We just present the acceptable parts to the world by reflex. The unacceptable parts have been so thoroughly tucked away that we ourselves have forgotten how to access them, and yet they are still there, alive in us, asking quietly to be seen. The loneliness you feel in rooms full of love is partly the loneliness of those hidden parts. They are in the room with you, but they have nowhere to be. They cannot speak. They cannot show up. So they ache. The third reason is that depth of connection requires a kind of attention that modern life has almost completely eroded. To actually be known by someone, you have to spend slow, unstructured time together. You have to be bored together. You have to have the conversation that meanders, that does not have a destination, that arrives at something neither of you knew you would say. Most of our time with people now is structured. We meet for dinner. We have a brunch. We go to the event. We text in fragments while we are doing other things. None of these contexts produce the conditions in which deep knowing happens. So even though we are spending plenty of time with people, none of that time is the kind of time that produces real connection, and we end up technically socially active, but profoundly unknown. I want to mention a fourth reason, because I think it is the most painful. Some of the people in your life cannot know you, even if you opened the door. Some of them are not capable of holding the full version of you. They have their own reasons, their own limitations, their own histories. A parent who has never done their own emotional work may not be able to receive the truth of your inner life. A friend who is themselves struggling may not have capacity to be present with your struggle. A partner who is conflict avoidant may not be able to engage with the harder parts of you. This is not your fault, and it is not necessarily their fault either. But it is real, and pretending it is not real will keep you lonely forever. So let me get into what helps, because I do not want to just describe the ache. I want to walk you towards something different. The first thing is to know that the solution is not necessarily more people. The solution is deeper connection with the right people. 1 or 2 people who actually know you can dissolve the loneliness that 20 acquaintances cannot touch. So instead of looking around at the room and thinking, I need more friends, ask, who in this room is capable of knowing me, and have I let them? The answer might surprise you. There are probably 1 or 2 people in your life right now who could meet you deeper, if you chose to let them. The work is not finding more people. The work is going deeper with the right ones. The second thing is to take a real risk in disclosure. The way you stop being lonely with people who love you is to let them see something they have not seen before. Not a confession of dark sins. Not a dramatic disclosure. Just one true thing that you usually keep hidden. The next time you are with someone who loves you and you feel that familiar distance, share something small but real. I have been struggling with something lately. I have been feeling lonely even with you, and I want to figure out why. I have been afraid to tell you this thing about my work, my body, my marriage, my fears. Just one true thing. And then watch what happens. Most of the time, the person responds with care. They lean in. They share something back. The conversation shifts. The loneliness in the room loosens. The risk is small, and the reward is enormous. The reason most people do not take this risk is that they are imagining the worst-case response. They are imagining judgment, withdrawal, awkwardness. In reality, sharing one true thing with someone who loves you almost always produces closeness, not distance. The third thing is to practice receiving. This is one of the most underrated parts of intimacy. Many people who feel lonely are excellent at giving. They listen, they support, they care for others. But they have a much harder time being on the receiving end. Someone asks them how they are, and they deflect. Someone offers help, and they refuse. Someone tries to know them, and they redirect the conversation back to the other person. This pattern, while it looks generous, is actually a way of staying hidden. If you never receive care, you never have to be known. So the work is to start receiving. When someone asks how you are, pause. Tell them something real. When someone offers help, say yes. When someone wants to know you, let them. Receiving is harder than giving for some of us, because it requires vulnerability. But receiving is the entrance to being known. The fourth thing is to be patient with the slow nature of intimacy. Some of the loneliness people feel comes from a hidden expectation that intimacy should be fast, that if a relationship is real, it should produce deep knowing quickly. But real intimacy is built over years, through small moments of showing up, of disclosing, of weathering things together. If you are early in a friendship or relationship, the loneliness you feel might just be the normal gap that exists before 2 people have done enough together to feel deeply known. Stay with it. Keep showing up. Keep choosing one more risk, one more real conversation, one more shared experience. The intimacy will deepen, but it will deepen slowly, and that is okay. The fifth thing is to be honest about who can and cannot meet you. Not everyone in your life is going to be able to know you deeply, and you have to make peace with that. There are people you will love who you cannot share your inner life with. There are family members who cannot hold the full version of you. There are friends who are wonderful in some ways and limited in others. The work is to stop expecting depth from people who can only offer surface, and to redirect your hopes for depth toward people who can actually meet you there. This is not a rejection of the surface people. You can love them dearly. You just have to stop expecting them to give you what they cannot give. The expectation is what creates the loneliness. When you accept what each person can offer and stop demanding more, the relationships become lighter, and the depth you need can be sought elsewhere. The sixth thing is to consider that loneliness in rooms of love is sometimes a sign of unprocessed grief. There may be losses in your life that you have not fully sat with, the version of your family that no longer exists, the friend who moved away, the relationship that ended, the childhood you wish you had, the parent who is still alive but is not the parent you needed. Unprocessed grief sits in the body like fog, and that fog comes between you and the people you are with, even when those people are very present. You are not lonely because they are absent. You are lonely because the fog is in the way. Doing the slow work of grieving what you have actually lost can lift the fog, sometimes faster than you expect. After the grief moves through, the same room with the same people feels different. You can suddenly be there with them. The intimacy that was technically available all along becomes accessible because the grief is no longer standing between you and it. The seventh thing is to think about ritual. A lot of what produces deep knowing in human beings happens through ritual, and modern life has stripped most of our rituals away. Eating together at a regular time, walking together, sharing news of the day in a structured way, going to a place of worship together, marking holidays with the same people year after year. These rituals create the conditions for being known because they produce repeated, slow, low-pressure contact. If your life is short on ritual, the loneliness might partly be the loneliness of missing those slow containers for intimacy. Consider building some. A weekly call with a friend, a monthly dinner with the same group, a morning routine you share with a partner. The rituals do the work that single events cannot. They create the consistent contact that allows real knowing to grow over time. I want to address something that I think a lot of people miss. Some of the loneliness in rooms full of love is the loneliness of not being known by yourself. You sit among people, and part of the ache is that you do not really know what is going on inside you, so you could not tell them even if you wanted to. There are parts of you that have been hidden for so long that they are now hidden from you. The work of being known by others depends in part on being known by yourself, so this is a journey that goes inward as much as outward. Spend time alone, deliberately, not just scrolling. Write, walk, sit. Let the inner voice that has been silenced for years begin to speak again. Get to know who you actually are now, not who you used to be, not who you are supposed to be. The clearer you become to yourself, the more available you become for real intimacy with others. You cannot share what you have not met. I also want to address the particular ache of feeling lonely with a romantic partner, because this version of the feeling is especially painful. When you are lonely in the presence of a friend or family member, you can tell yourself, this is not the relationship that is supposed to fix that loneliness. But when you are lonely with your partner, the loneliness feels like a verdict on the relationship. It is not necessarily a verdict. It can be sometimes a sign that something is wrong. But more often, it is a sign that the relationship has fallen into surface patterns, and the depth is available but not being accessed. Couples drift into routines of logistics, of co-management, of parallel lives, and forget how to actually meet each other. The way back is not necessarily to leave. The way back is to remember how to ask the real questions. What are you actually thinking about? What are you afraid of right now? What do you wish I knew about you? These questions, asked sincerely, can restore intimacy in marriages that had felt cold for years. Try them before you conclude that the relationship itself is the problem. I want to leave you with one last thought. The ache you feel in rooms full of love is not a sign of something wrong with you or with them, or with the love itself. It is a sign that some part of you knows there is more available and is calling you toward it. Loneliness is, in this sense, a kind of compass. It is pointing you toward the next layer of connection you have not yet built. If you can stop trying to silence it and instead listen to what it is asking, it will guide you. Sometimes it will guide you to share more. Sometimes it will guide you to seek different people. Sometimes it will guide you inward to meet parts of yourself you have abandoned. Every direction it points is worth following, because every direction leads to more of what you actually need. If this resonated with you, please give the video a like. It really helps me reach more people who have been feeling this and could not name it. And if you want more videos like this, where we name the quiet difficulties of being human and walk toward what helps, please subscribe. I have a lot more to share, and I would love to keep walking through it with you. Before I let you go, I want to acknowledge that the work of becoming known is slow, and there will be days when you do everything right and still feel the old ache. That is not a sign of failure. Some loneliness in the human condition is permanent. Even the most intimately known person on Earth has parts of themselves that no one else can fully access. The goal is not to eliminate the ache entirely. The goal is to reduce it to the residual level that is simply part of being a separate person. When you get there, the ache is no longer a wound. It is just the quiet sound of being yourself. That is bearable. That is even, in its own way, beautiful. Take care of yourself this week. Take one small risk in disclosure. Pick the right person and tell them one true thing. Notice what happens. The loneliness you have been carrying is real, but it is not permanent. There is a different room waiting, and you can begin to build it tonight. I will see you in the next one.